All right, all right. Welcome to another edition of Bondex Talks. And today we're going to be talking about AI with Ron Bodkin here, our very, very special guest, and one of the companies we've partnered with, Theoriq. As a quick introduction, Theoriq is the first decentralized protocol for governing and building multi-agent systems by integrating AI with blockchain technology. And the platform is centered around an agnostic modular base layer that powers ecosystems of dynamic AI engine collectives that are interoperable, composable, and decentralized. This is obviously from the website, but we're going to get a much better intro and in-depth in the words of its founder and CEO, Ron, here. But just also a quick intro on him. Our guest is a really a true pioneer in the AI technology space with over 2 decades of leadership in some of the most influential companies in the industry. And he's currently leading the charge of Theoriq AI, driving development for an open innovation system for AI agents. And he's also the CEO and founder of ChainML, one of the companies we've, as Bondex, have closely partnered with a very cool use case and something that all of the Bondex users and Bondens listening to us today will be able to use soon. But no one better than to tell us about the company than the CEO and founder himself. Welcome, Ron. How are you? Tell us more about Theoriq.
Yeah, thank you, Ignacio. It's great to be here, and certainly great to be partnering with Bondex. For me, my background, as you know, I've been working in the AI space a long time, been an entrepreneur much of my career. Was really got into AI and machine learning at QuantCast. It was ad tech firm. I led engineering and research. We built a multi-$100 million business with lookalikes for advertising. Created a company. Think Big Analytics and sold it to Teradata, where I was VP and GM of AI, integrating the technology into their database, then responsible for applied AI in the Google CTO office, and led engineering to support 500 researchers and 100 industry sponsors at Vector Institute. But really, got into Web3 in a big way, got excited by the potential of community-owned AI, community governance and participation, and that's always been foundational. We started ChainML, which is the labs company behind Theoriq, over 2 years ago. Me and my founders would work together with me, whether at Teradata or at Vector Institute. And we really got excited with the launch of ChatGPT around how the rapid progress in generative AI was allowing people to build increasingly sophisticated AI systems. We see that as agents, like ability to have software that can do things on your behalf, increasingly take action, plan, access data in real time and help you. And what we're so excited about is the ability to have a protocol that makes it so agents can work together. They can dynamically collaborate to solve hard problems. They can own things. They can pay for data. They can pay to do their thinking. They can take actions, and they have reputation on chain. And these are key things that we're building in the Theoriq protocol.
I love it, and we're aligned to many of these things, especially the reputation part, right? We're trying to build a reputation protocol to enable to exchange talent, labor, skills, and time through trust, right? And AI agents can really help a lot in HR, especially in HR and the labor market, where there's such an abundance of data, a lot of it decayed, a lot of it outdated, and so there's a lot of use cases that I think really align well between the HR space and talent and recruitment and AI and agents. Just as a quick one for people to understand, I think there's a lot of words going around nowadays with the rise of AI and generative AI as an agent. So people get a better, is that like a secretary, like a PA doing things on your behalf? Can you tell a little bit more in simple words, just for educational purposes, would you define an AI agent?
Yeah, so an AI agent is a piece of software that can execute tasks on your behalf. It can do things for you. It has not only the ability to compute, to think about things with these generative AI models that are so exciting, but also can access tools to do things like run code or call APIs. It can look up data in real time to give you information to make informed decisions. It can communicate with other agents, which is a really important capability, right? That just like companies, projects are done by teams of specialist people, we're seeing that teams of specialist agents working together in collaboration work better than single agent trying to do everything. And generally what we see is what these agents can do just keeps improving, right? The amount of sophistication of what an agent can accomplish for you keeps improving. Now, some people have started out with this idea of a fully general purpose agent that does everything. But what we've seen is that, various efforts to make these kinds of general purpose agents, it's really hard to create a universal agent that does everything well. Whereas it's a lot easier to create specialists that say, hey, I'm going to help you write a great job description, on Bondex, or I'm going to come up with a great tool to analyze a given project and tell you what are key factors you ought to know before you talk to them, right? So over time, what we're seeing, though, is that these collectives of agents can do more and more ambitious tasks, right? So today, agents are often able to tackle things that might take an intern a few hours to accomplish for you, maybe a day, right? But over time, I think agents will accomplish things that would take a whole team a week to accomplish, right? So like the amount of complexity in what they can do is just continuing to increase as we see more agents come out. We get better techniques for how they work together, rise of protocols like ours that are going to really enable this, and the models.
Before we get into your particular use cases and the way that you're going about enabling all this to come to life, and also the partnership that we're getting to bed, I want to get a little bit philosophical about some of the things that you've just touched on. And I actually did through the pandemic, I did an AI in business course, and my conclusion from it was that the machine combined with a human is a superior model to either of them being independent. As agents, AIs, machines, however you want to define them, do things better in certain areas that and the humans do other things better. The combination of both is really the superior model. But it's what you said about a general purpose agent, which I think is what you see in movies like, I don't know, Iron Man. That would be like a Jarvis, right? I think we're very far away from that, and part of it is because of what you said. People underestimate how an agent, what are the requirements to make an agent? Apart from the model itself, you need structured data, right? In a certain subject matter, and then the training of the agent to be able to do those things so that you can rely on it to really deliver the results that you expect. And that's why you're saying an intern, then over time it will become like a full-on maybe research analyst capability, right? That takes iteration, that takes you correcting it, you fine-tuning it, right? More data being added to it and being trained on, right? And so people underestimate, you can do one use case of one agent to have that one arena that's already complicated enough. And I think a lot of resources and also time sink from someone to train an agent to be very, very useful to them. So the general purpose one, I think that's one of the underestimations. So the philosophical question I want to get to is, do you see this AI agents as something that, like any industrial revolution, the fear of the loss of jobs, etc., is it something that will decrease the cost of knowledge workers because it'll be more commoditized, or will it increase the bandwidth that people can output in their work and therefore decrease the number of employees companies can have? Will this boom a million startups with very few employees that can, if they crack a good software, can make a lot of money with very few people? What are some of the philosophical kind of points that you see on the advent of generative AI and the integration or adoption of agents?
Yeah, I mean, I think, definitely resonate with your point. Specialized agents are really a lot easier to get the right data to, some of the big advances is it used to be you had to have a team of PhDs to curate data and train a special model, set of models for every task. So we had AI for social recommendations and ad placements and so on, but not a lot of use cases. Now it's dramatically easier, right? Like we're excited about a no-code builder to make it easy for anyone to teach what they know to an agent and help it do more of what they do well, automate more of their knowledge and enable them to have superpowers. And I think, we're clearly going into a stage where AI is the ultimate bicycle for the mind, right? These agents can be super enabling of people to accomplish things and to do more. And I think over the near term, what we're going to see is tremendous productivity gains for knowledge workers. I think it's always hard to predict, how the economy plays out. Like the first thing is the adoption rate of AI tends to lag in many big companies, but like what we're seeing is that people who are on the forefront, who are embracing first chatbots and now agents, are going to be significantly do better at work and on top of the trends and well positioned for the right next jobs. And I think there's a ton of those opportunities, right? That we're all speculating how far, how fast does AI develop? Does it level out? Are there things where it's sort of structurally not good at? You can see all kinds of pundits and opinions on that. I think we have to recognize, we have a little bit of humility that we don't have a good understanding of what leads to intelligence and what's in it. And there's a long history of AI researchers thinking that because they've made rapid progress, that they're this close to generalized intelligence that does everything, and discovering how hard the things they didn't know how to do really were. So I think there's a lot of speculation around like what happens. I do think we're going to see tremendous change, right? The ability to automate drudge work. And, I think the other thing you brought up, this idea of like, will there be startups of 3-person startups creating software? And the question is like, why do you need standardized software to do things when agents can sort of configure and do things that are really productive and useful for you very naturally, right? Like, if everyone can kind of have agents that help them do the custom thing that they need done, why do you need to buy a SaaS product that's sort of a compromise for everyone, right? I mean, I think there's cases where it's like, it needs to have lots of people to communicate and come together where there's still a lot of value. But, I think a lot of products that are being built for a single person to do something, it's like maybe the agents it'll be easy to use. A whole bunch of specialized agents can sort of solve those problems for you the way you want it.
It's such an exciting time for technology, and obviously blockchain is already an nascent enough technology, and now on the advent of AI, I do see a little bit of over exuberance in the beginning, just like happens with any technological revolution, and then it comes to like, okay, how does this technology get applied? I see the same kind of adoption rate and timing with blockchain that is not going to come from institutional adoptions, consumer apps, the infrastructure. I think now we're in the infrastructure hype phase for AI, but I'm excited to see the use cases. And there are already. ChatGPT is a consumer app, ChainML is a consumer app. And now let's get to actually to us. And the first thing is ChainML and Theoriq. Can you tell us what the difference between them is? Explain that to the audience.
Yeah, so ChainML is our labs company. We do research and development in AI, and the main focus is developing the Theoriq protocol, right? So we've done a bunch of work around agents and how to create agents, how to have collectives of agents do analytics, and really the culmination of a lot of that work was saying, hey, we think there's a huge opportunity to build this protocol in Theoriq for how agents collaborate, drawing on that experience. So, we're the company that builds the Theoriq protocol, essentially. So that's a quick summary of the two.
All right, very clear. And I guess, what do you see as some of the strengths that are interoperable or synergies that you see between blockchain and AI, or adding, AI with blockchain?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly important. Like we talked about, number one is this idea of reputation, right? That we're going to a world where there's going to be millions of agents. So how do you discover the right agents? How do you know what agents are good? How do you know what agents work well together as a collective, right? These are key questions. Like, so users can discover and select and get the right agents to help them with the tasks they need done, right? And so blockchain is great for recording that evidence in a transparent, tamper-proof way, right? It's great for making it so it's composable and permissionless, so people can create a wide variety of agents and have maximum choice. Now, saying permissionless, that's a little bit of an overstatement. I think you have to have some level of community governance, right? That you want to have. You don't want to have criminal or harmful spam agents that deceive and manipulate, users, steal their identity or credit card, or, drain their wallets and so on, right? So there's a whole range of things you need to still have governed to say we don't want agents to do these things. We want to block, malicious uses. So I think community governance with a real open source ethos and a community ethos that it's about all the stakeholders, the agent creators, the agent users, the infrastructure providers, all having a hand and a say in it. But I think these are powerful aspects of blockchain and the Web3 ethos that compare very favorably to having big monopolies decide for all of us what the rules of the road for AI should be, where we already know that the big monopolist position is whatever they can extract, they will over time, right? OpenAI saying every dev day, like, how many startups that we're building on their platform are they killing this time, right?
Amen. That's how I feel about kind of the Web2 social networks and talent platforms. And the good thing about them, though, is that they're not gonna adopt blockchain to redistribute value to companies, so they cannot compete from a tokenization point of view. But they're definitely implementing AI, same as the ones that you've talked to. These data monopolies, they have all the data. They're going to be using AI and kind of leading the front. So we need startups like you to be competing and having novel use cases. That the advantages, you're more nimble, you're more lean, you can move faster, and hopefully stand up to them essentially. And I want to talk about our collaboration, and we've already started working on one use case people are going to see, which is more of an agent that will help with information retrieval about the Bondex as a company, right? We have so many things. We have a talent marketplace, we have a professional network, Web3 careers, and then there's a token, speculation aspect. So the agent is going to basically consolidate and pop out, give information in a very rapid way from all of the sources for ease. But there's so many AI agents that can be used for talent, and in particular our Web3 professional network that I see, right? So I want to basically run through some of those, right, and pick your brain on that. So some of the ideas that we've had is, for example, processing and browsing resumes, CVs, portfolios, and matching them to live job posting on opportunities, right? Because with a heightened focus on the research specific roles, you could basically just make the matching more efficient and save a lot of people time in finding the right opportunities and the company finding the right talent, right? What do you think about that use case in particular for agents?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're, helping with matching talent to opportunities is a really good use case. And I think there's both, finding relevant people that could be really good for a role. There's also like how to give feedback, or how to sort of guide people creating a job description to say like, hey, here's some key aspects, like you didn't mention this, like are these kinds of skills, like there's a lot of people who maybe don't have this thing but have this other skill or capability that might be useful. Did you think about that? Would they be good to include as well, right? Is this a hard requirement? Like if you soften this up, like a lot of times people will put in arbitrary things in a job description, like, needs to have a Bachelor of Science in computer science, right? And it's like, well, there's a lot of people that maybe have very comparable skills, right? Like if we remove this, you'd get 5 times as many people qualified. Does it really have to be a computer science degree, or could it be a technical degree, right? So I think it's on both sides, and it's likewise, even helping applicants, right, not only find roles, but also maybe helping people who are interested in roles, like come up with a great description of like, what are their qualifications, helping them in a very targeted way, right? A useful cover letter, right? A useful, why is this a good job for me? And, it's just helping them find what's already in their profile, but highlighting the relevant parts that match, right? So these are all ways of helping facilitate matching. I don't know if we're going to get to, the Whitney Wolfe Herd, the founder of Bumble, was talking about in the dating social network space, having agents date each other in a virtual way. I don't know we're going to get that anytime soon, but you could imagine a similar, and there was even a Black Mirror episode on that. But, we could imagine a similar thing at some point around talent too, that you have a virtual interview
like your agent who's like you goes and interviews for your stuff. But you brought up an amazing point, because that's the other use case we're working on at Bondex, is basically a career coach, right? So it's not just highlighting how to present yourself, but let's say that you're starting as a college student, which is the hardest part of sometimes your career, because you don't know where you get started. Maybe you're a bit lost, you know what your interests are, et cetera, et cetera. But the career coach can tell you, okay, what do you want? What were you interested in? And then maybe it could start pointing you to jobs, and then pointing you to the skills that you should attain to be able to have a good shot at getting those jobs. Maybe pointing to your social graph and telling you these are the people that you should start to network or target or talk to if you're interested in those jobs and those positions, and be a real like effective coach essentially. And where the blockchain comes in, and I see it coming in, is what you've brought up before, is sometimes your resume just having a computer science degree, maybe you haven't coded for the last 10 years in your job, right? And someone that's been self-taught with a coding school and has been working in that field, but the requirement is a college degree, then they're actually going to mismatch, and the matching is not going to be good, right? So where does on-chain come in with resumes and reputation is if you validate skills and credentials, and you start having kind of a self-sovereign professional identity, I think the AI will also basically do a better job of the matching, instead of just looking for degrees and kind of a static, obsolete resume. So that's something that I also see where the AI talent agent and the blockchain coming together.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and I think there's like so many ways to go. With coaching, one of the things I think would be really helpful is where you've got public profiles of backgrounds, is like helping people see like what are examples of other people, what have they done, right? And like maybe seeing how people a few years ahead of you in your career, how they've navigated, and what are some potential outcomes that can be input for a coach to give you very concrete advice. Sometimes the danger is a lot of the coaching advice that people get is from people late in their career, sort of coming back and telling a story about what worked. And first of all, like, you get a survivorship bias of like the people who tend to be interviewed and asked about what they did in their career are outliers, very lucky and maybe very unusual. So it's not always like the ideal advice, right? Like, maybe it worked for Zuck and Bill Gates to drop out of college, but for many people, it'd be a better choice to finish that college degree, right? And similarly, to your point, I think when you think about how do you have reliable credentials, I mean, I think there's a lot to having strong evidence, and some of that can be attestation from other experts. I think as agents get better, you'll be able to lower the bar of actually having people do meaningful tests to prove credentials. Like you can lower the cost of certification if AI agents can address it, right? So like, even though AI models are brilliant at doing standardized tests, but don't necessarily have the full toolkit to do everything that a person does, they can be really good at testing that evidence that a person is good, right? So AI certification of people, I think, will become a lot more important and a lot more prominent.
That's actually a very good point. Background checks are very, very expensive, and they can only be afforded for really larger companies normally, right? And I see startups in Web3 in particular have been very vulnerable to people from sanctioned countries who have bought identities from people in the US, and because it's remote, they never turn on their camera, they just put work. And a lot of them were like North Koreans. And then all of a sudden, this startup found out, because they don't have the means or really the practices and size and maturity as a company to be running background checks, then that they were paying North Korea 100K over 6 months to someone's salary, right? So there's real security, also exposure to basically the lack of validated credentials in the talent platforms in which we operate. So AI, you're right, it could go run those background checks in the front end, and then the blockchain can act as that issuer and validator, sorry, the AI would be the validator of the credentials by checking, right? Maybe checks online for social proof that you went to this university. Who knows? Maybe checks your Instagram that, you know, it shows that you've been there. I don't know how it would work exactly, right? But it would look through a bunch of sources to confirm that you went to a certain school, you've worked at a certain place. And then Bondex would be the issuer of that on-chain credential, right? An attestation, and that goes on your resume. And now you can basically, you're proving who you are, and that's a much more trusted infrastructure, right? So that's another amazing application, which I'm going to write down for my product team to get going on after this, which is credentialing and validation. Thanks, Ron, and I hope we do it with you guys, obviously. As we're entering the last question of the interview today, I wanted to just ask you any real world examples or things that people should be excited about, Theoriq and ChainML, things to be on the lookout for, you want to let everyone know about coming in the near future.
Yeah, so we're excited about how agents are really helping with a variety of communities, right? So obviously the collaboration with Bondex and some of the agents that we're going to help people in the ways we talked about. We're also working with some different investment companies and KOLs around how can you make it easier to analyze tokens and investments in crypto, have agents that can tap into social data and around those different projects and get insight, when you're thinking about, should I hold this investment? Should I buy some more? Should I sell? Right? These kinds of questions, getting that kind of insight, we think is a really interesting use case. Obviously, prediction markets is another one that we're really excited about. So is governance in decentralized protocols. But honestly, I also think, all of these helping people do better knowledge work, helping with marketing and business development and project planning and product management and engineering, like AI agents can help with all of these things. And we're seeing excitement around creating and agents in our protocol that work together to do those things, and lots of collaborations and partnerships with people bringing great agents into the ecosystem that can be combined to solve these problems. So those are just a few of the areas that we're excited, and we see a lot of opportunity.
And anything for the company in particular, this not just so much on the agent product side, anything should be on the lookout for, special events, releases, anything at all?
Well, we're kicking off our first incentivized test net next month, so definitely keep an eye out for that and a chance to start participating. We're really excited to get people, interacting with agents in the protocol, giving feedback. We believe that's getting people building agents and using agents and giving feedback. We want to have early people involved in the protocol, have a chance to, our proof of engagement program really get recognized. Even, we'll be giving out cash prizes for people as a thank you for giving that early feedback, right? So we want it to be something that the community comes together and really experiences and shapes the future of agents in a way that rewards all of us.
Well, Ron, just for you to remember, Bondex will be happy to support you on by sharing that on our socials when you guys are ready to launch the incentivized testnet. And everyone, be on the lookout. Ron and the work that they're doing at Theoriq is at the forefront of AI and blockchain, and that's why we're working with them. I'm very excited about the use cases we're going to bring to life together. And I just want to thank you, Ron, for coming on today. Thank you for your time. And I want to thank you to all the Bondens for joining for another edition of Bondex Talks. And we'll be back soon next week. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Ignacio. And don't forget to follow us at Theoriq AI.
Give them a follow as well.